What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. You know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. But hey, let's just go ahead and jump right in. Everybody anticipates the Clippers being the scariest team in the NBA next year, being one of the best teams in the NBA next year, and being the team that's definitely shooting for the title contender. And they should be looked at as one of the number one title contender next year. And rightfully so. The Clippers have a deadly team. They have a lot of pieces. They have a lot of good pieces all around. Only thing I say they need to add is a point guard, which I think they're definitely looking into right now as we speak. So if they add a backup point guard to what they already have, they're definitely they're definitely a title contender, no doubt, even though they're one right now without a backup point guard just because they're so deep in every other area. And they got one of the top 3, top 5 players in the league. And they got one of the best coaches. With all that being said, the Clippers will be the number 1 seed next season if they can stay healthy. If they could stay healthy, I believe they could be the number 1 seed in the West. And then it might have the number 1 seed in the whole NBA if they stay healthy, because they're definitely good enough to do that. Because when you look at this team from top to bottom, you could say Kawhi, PG, Norman Powell, Robert Covington. I don't know if they'll have Marcus Morris by then, but as of right now, you can say Marcus Morris, Reggie Jackson, you got Zubac, and you got, Luke Kennard and Terrence Mann. Those names right there make them a title contender right off the bat. Those names right there make them a title contender because that's versatility, that's shooting, that's 3-point shooting, that's dominant player scoring in Kawhi, and that's a big man in the paint who can demand a presence if given the opportunity. And Zubac does have nights where he looks like, he's just overly aggressive. And if he plays like that next season for most of the season, they definitely could be a number 1 seed, no doubt about it. And I don't think too many people would deny that based upon the way this team is built and what you see on paper in regards to their roster and how motivated this team will be next year. I said before, the window for championship for this team is closing. And after next year, it might almost be closed fully if they don't at least make it to a finals. And that's the reason why I said next year they have to at least make it to a finals to not make this a bust situation since Kawhi and PG arrived, because they got too much talent on this team not to at least make it to a finals. I mean, last year when Kawhi went down, that was their cue to make it to the finals. I just believe they were going to make it to the finals if Kawhi didn't get hurt. Everybody else believed it as well, because nobody believes the Suns could beat them with a healthy Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I like Devin Booker. Devin Booker is my guy. I've always liked Devin Booker. I mean, I think he's really not getting his flowers the way he should. I think he's starting to, but I think he should have been got his flowers, because this dude is definitely, this dude is definitely the real deal. But I don't put him against Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is another beast, another animal, and that's not something that I don't think Devin Booker's ready for just yet. Just like everybody thought Luka was last year when they played him, Luka's not ready for that just yet. Luka's not a better player than Kawhi Leonard. Anybody who believes that, stop it. He's not a better player than Kawhi Leonard. He looks like he can be a better player at times because he has a lot of passing and all the tools in the tool bag, because he does a lot of different things, pass, shoot. He's an all-around player, but Kawhi is a killer. And when you have a killer on the loose, everybody fears him. Nobody fears a guy who has a bunch of gadgets and different things. No, Kawhi is a killer mentality. That's Jordan, that's Kobe. If Jordan and Kobe made a baby, it would be Kawhi Leonard. Case closed. I mean, that's just the way it is. So no, Luka's not better. Those players are really nice, but they're not on that level. And Kawhi showed everybody Luka's not on that level just yet. You got a 2-0 lead, then you had a 3-2 lead, and Kawhi took it over. That's what great players do. And this is why I said, shout out to Devin Booker, but if they had to play a healthy Clippers team last year, they would have lost. They wouldn't have went to the finals. That's all history. But still, this is the point. This team right here, nobody in the West really wants to see this team. if they're 100% healthy. Not the Warriors, not anybody. And the Warriors, to me, would be now that I think about it, now that I'm looking at Jordan Poole evolve, they would be a better matchup, for the Clippers in a, 7-game series, because they got, some high volume scorers other than Clay and Steph now. They got Jordan Poole and they got, Wiggins, who can, drop 17, 18 points a game. They got other players who can come in and contribute. And, we still haven't seen James Wiseman yet, but I mean, he's definitely a huge upside for them. They got a lot of high hopes for him, so we'll see how he pans out. But regardless of that, Kawhi and PG with Norman Powell and Robert Covington, those four right there, they could shut down an operation. And I tell you, when you look at Robert Covington specifically, he is a role player, don't get me wrong, but he's one of those role players that you love to have on your team, because he can knock down a big three when called upon. He can knock down big shots, and he can go and defend like crazy on the other end. I mean, he's not a defender like Kawhi Leonard, but he's not too far off at times, because at times he could really, really defend, and he could defend the perimeter really well. So that's where a Jordan Poole or like, Klay Thompson would be at. And I'm not saying, he's going to shut those players down, but he'll neutralize them, I believe. That can give the Clippers the advantage to win that series if they played, because I just think the Clippers are better all around. They got more defense on their team, and they got the offense to go with it. So, and that's the reason why I think Ty Lue wants to run it back with everybody that's on his team now. He doesn't really want no trades. And I understand why Ty Lue wants to run it back, because, I mean, when you look at how everybody will be in place, everybody's playing their natural position again. And now you might get more consistency out of certain players that you didn't get before, because they're playing out of position rather than their actual position that they're supposed to play. So like if they get a point guard, which would be the best thing for them, now you can ask Reggie Jackson to play point guard some, but now he can go back and play the shooting guard role more, which that's his actual natural position. He's more of a scoring guard. He's not really like, a pass first guy. He's more, scoring, all in with that. That's why they call him Hot Sauce Jackson, because he got the crossover, he got the handles, and, he's streaky where he can get to the rim, but he's streaky with his scoring too, because he's a really good scorer at times. You know what I'm saying? He can fill up the stat sheet. We saw that game where he had like the 36 or 38 points against the Lakers when they blew them out. One of the last games they played against the Lakers, which they embarrassed them, but still, he's more of a shooting guard than a point guard. So it's like my thing, when everybody can actually play their natural position more and have everybody in place, it'll make everybody play a lot better and more comfortable in their own skin. And that's the reason why I think Ty Lue wants his team back, not only because of that, but because he know how good this team can be and how great they could be next season in taking it the distance. This is the reason why I said this team should be, and I think they will be, the number one seed if they stay healthy, because I just don't see nobody in the West really, really actually bothering them, because mentally they know they have the advantage over every team in the West. If they play against the Warriors, the best player on the floor is Kawhi Leonard. Stephen Curry has moments where he doesn't shoot well in big moments. He has moments where he shoots great, then he has moments where he shoots piss poor. Klay Thompson is, he has found his footing for the most part, but at the same time, those dynasty years are over where he's taking 25, 30 shots a game or whatever he was taking, because now they share, him and Steph share with Jordan Poole, because now he's emerging. So they don't take as many shots as they used to, even though they're still effective, but they got some young pieces there that they have to share the wealth with. And as I said before, they don't play defense on the level of Kawhi Leonard. Neither one of those players, none of those players do. So that would make Kawhi Leonard the best player on the floor. Draymond Green definitely is a factor as well, because he plays defense, but he can't guard Kawhi Leonard. Can't nobody on that team guard Kawhi Leonard. So that's over and done with there. And then Paul George, if he's guarded by Klay Thompson, I see Klay Thompson, getting his offense back, but his defense isn't where it was a few years ago. Maybe by then it will be, who knows? But his defense really isn't like it was a few years ago, even though he's starting to gain his offensive stride back. But his defense is not, up to par like it used to be. So I think Paul George might have the advantage. If not have the advantage, they both would factor each other out scoring wise. wise. And then, like I said, Kawhi would just dominate, the game pretty much throughout. And then Reggie Jackson, who would be guarding him, what I'm saying, where he's out there doing his thing, getting to the rim, and everything like that. So to me, the Clippers will win that series, in 6 games. It won't go no more than 6 games. The Clippers 4-2. And if the Clippers play the Suns, I think they will beat them 4-2 or 4-1 as well, 5 or 6 games. I don't think the Suns have nothing too much for them. I think they kind of actually fear the Clippers somewhat because Kawhi Leonard is just a better player than everybody on the floor once again. And the Clippers will just have the advantage overall, if you ask me. Just overall talent-wise with the team, it would be an interesting matchup. But, Chris Paul will be a little bit older then, too. So it's like, are you getting the Chris Paul that you got 2 years ago? I don't think so. So, that would give the Clippers the advantage. So, and every other team in the West, Denver will be stacked too once they get Jamal Murray back, but I still think the Clippers could beat them. Definitely, if they're healthy and if they're ready to go, they can beat them as well. Especially with the additions of, like I said, Robert Covington and Norman Powell. They would feast on Denver because the Will Bartons and all those players, they can't keep up with Norman Powell. Norman Powell can outscore almost everybody on Denver besides maybe Jamal Murray and Jokic. Norman Powell comes off the bench with like 25 points. That's more than anybody on that team. And that's one of the Clippers bench players coming off the bench so far. So it's like, the Clippers would definitely win that matchup. So I don't really see nobody contending with them like that in the Western Conference. And Luka still is good, but he doesn't have enough on that team to contend, I don't think, for a championship, not as of right now. But at the same time, the Clippers definitely would be the best team in the West on paper. And like I said, if they stay healthy, they've got to be a number 1 seeded team because I don't see anybody in the West that really would give them a challenge. Not unless the Lakers went out and, got another big 3 or, made some drastic moves. Maybe they might be one of the teams up there too if they make some moves, but I don't really see how many moves they can make because not many teams want Russell Westbrook. And at this point, I think not many teams, if they were willing to trade Anthony Davis, not many teams would take Anthony Davis, who's trying to win a championship anyway. If the team is no good and not going to win a championship, then, well, yeah, they'll take him. Of course, because he's a big name, but teams are trying to win a championship. I don't know if they'll take Anthony Davis at this point because he's just not healthy enough to be relied on. And you just don't know when he's playing. From game to game, he gets hurt. Every 3 to 5 games, Anthony Davis gets hurt. So it's like, if he's that injury prone, who wants him? Who wants to have him on their roster? Nobody. So it's like it's almost a waste because you don't even know what you're getting out of him. And LeBron James is going to be another year older than what he is now, and it's going to weigh on him after a while, even though it doesn't seem like it's weighed on him as of yet. Trust me, he's going to slow down if he hasn't yet, which he hasn't so far, but he's going to slow down. And next year, you're going to see a lot more decline in his game than what you might have even seen in spurts this year, even though this year he played, pretty damn good actually. But, there were games this year where you saw, he kind of was just, tired, fatigue, and then, the injuries, they're going to mount up too. He, in every little injury he gets now, keeps him out a couple of games. It's not like he recovers the way he used to since he's older. So that plays a factor as well. So when you think about it, the Clippers, they don't have an easy run for the number 1 seed next year because it's always tough, but they definitely have a chance to get it. And I definitely believe they will get it because if they have a healthy Kawhi and PG all season with the role players that they have, and they can pretty much stay healthy for the most part, I don't think nobody really is gonna, bother them from the East or the West. It's the way teams are constructed right now, unless a team, happens to, build a big 3 or something like that. But I like their chances against anybody. Kawhi Leonard next year, fully healthy, I know he's gonna average somewhere around 27, 28 points. PG is gonna average somewhere around 24 to 26 points a game. Then I think Reggie Jackson will average around 17 a game. That's their top 3. If they do have Marcus Morris, if they don't trade him, which I think that's definitely in the works, I think he'll average somewhere around 15, 14 points a game. And like I said, if they can get, 14 and 10, 14 and 11 a game from Zubac, or at least bare minimum a double-double. Like if he averages 11 and 10 a game, he needs to average a double-double. next season. Period. That'll just put them over the hump to me and definitely secure their number 1 seed, because now they got a big man who's definitely giving them a double-double every single night, no matter who's on the floor, and that's exactly what they need out of Zubac. So if they can get that and everybody stay healthy, Ty Lue already has the young guys seasoned because they played a lot this season without the likes of Kawhi and PG, and they got a lot of experience too because they played in a lot of meaningful games. They didn't play a bunch of games where the Clippers were up by 25 points and they came in with like a minute and 25 seconds to go in the fourth quarter and threw them in there so they can get some playing time. No, these guys actually played meaningful minutes. They played minutes to where it's almost like they were playing for their lives. They were playing, almost like they were playing in the playoffs, is the way he had these young guys out there playing, because every game was crucial for the Clippers because they were trying to make the playoffs at mid-season or something like that. They had the aspirations of getting a playoff spot near the end of the season, and that's when they were winning all those games. And they were right there. It was like 2 or 3 games from the 6th seed, actually. And then they just flailed out a little bit. And that's when Paul George came back. And then they went to the playing tournament. The rest is history. But still, they had a lot of contribution from a lot of younger guys like Brandon Boston earlier this season, who had 1 or 2 big games this season for the Clippers. And I've always been impressed by his game. Then you got Amir Coffey. I mean, this dude right here is he can really score. I mean, Amir Coffey can put up some points. So, I mean, he's another guy that can come off the bench and really, surprise a lot of teams. So when you think about this team all in its entirety, with Terrence Mann, playing a little bit better towards the end of the season, Luke Kennard being one of their biggest, reasons for their season staying alive the way it did, and, being a playoff potential team and a playing tournament team, Luke Kennard was a big part of that reason why too. So, got to give him some credit. They got a lot of depth all the way around, and this team right here is built for a championship, and I definitely think they'll be a number 1 seed if they stay healthy. And I think that a lot of teams should fear the Clippers as one of the title contenders for the championship, because they're just built all the way around very well. And only thing I think they need is that backup point guard to come in and anchor the offense when Kawhi and PG sits down and when Reggie sits down. I think they need somebody to come in and anchor the offense a little bit, keep it going. So like if they have a 10-point lead or something like that, they need a point guard that'll be able to step in and come in and keep the offense going where they can sustain that lead, give their best players the rest they need going into the fourth quarter so they can finish games out. That's the thing that the Clippers need to me. Now, of course, if they added another big man to their roster, that's always a good thing too. I don't want to leave that out because it's always good to have size. It's always good to have extra size on your roster. I mean, the bigger you are, the better your chances. Because if you have to play a team like the Bucks in the finals, you need a brick wall to stop Giannis or players like him. So it's always good to have some size too. So if they can find a way to get maybe a third big man in there on their roster or something like that, if they can actually, maybe utilize between the power forward and the center position, that would be good too, along with a backup point guard. Then they're cooking with grease. Then they're good. Even though I still think they're good now, I think they're good enough to be a number 1 seed with the team they have now, but they definitely would probably lock that number 1 seed if they actually added maybe just a little bit more size to their, another big man and backup point guard. I think that'll definitely do them in very well. So I'm anticipating next season to see. Hopefully everybody stays healthy, because I think the Clippers can definitely, shut a lot of their haters up and make it, take it the distance to a finals, and we'll see what they do if they get there. But hey, that's my take on everything. You leave any comments in the comment section as always. And hey, Cali out.